The Ring magazine officially announces the mega showdown fight between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence Bud Crawford. The fight officially is gonna be taking place on September 13 in Las Vegas at the Allegiant Stadium, and is gonna be broadcasted by Netflix. Who doesn't have Netflix, right guys? Yes, and I do know this fight on paper is a very big fight because come on, Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Bud Crawford. Just saying those two names together sounds good, but to me, this fight is really overhyped and boxing never asked for this fight. And Terence Crawford, in past interviews, he stated that he will never fight Canelo Alvarez because Canelo is just too big for him. Pause. And that was just a question to Terence Crawford. There was really no intention on making the fight or having serious talks about it. People only really started having serious talks about the fight until after Terence Crawford beat the living ish out of Errol Spence Jr. But before that fight, Terence Crawford wanted no part of Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo kept getting asked the same question, and he kept brushing that question off. Canelo kept saying that Crawford was too small and he was gonna get no credit when he defeats him. I have no idea who put that on Crawford's head that he could actually defeat Canelo, only because Canelo and Crawford are about the same height but not the same weight. And I don't believe it was only because Terence Crawford defeated Errol Spence. It was the way Terence Crawford beat Errol Spence. Terence Crawford actually dropped Errol Spence with a jab. He actually stopped Errol Spence. He was beating Errol Spence so bad that he actually put his foot out of the pedal. And everybody knows, the whole boxing world knows, that that was not the same Errol Spence as the one that defeated Ugas. I remember there was so many excuses, but they did not really come from Errol Spence. It came from the whole boxing world and all Errol Spence fans. Here are some of the excuses that came out after the fight. Errol Spence ran up the hill in the middle of the day when the sun is hitting you the hardest. And also, Errol Spence got his ribs broken in sparring and he could not spar months before the fight. And these are the two excuses that make the most sense to me, but there was a lot of them that came after the fight. And I remember I was the first one that said that Errol Spence actually looked high entering the fight, but I do not believe it was the smoking high. I believe it was the edible high. Once you know, you know. But guess who confirms it? Mr. Everything Boxing. Shout out to him. And he says that he has inside sources of who gave him the edible. He says that it was Iron Mike Tyson. And I do recall that Tyson did give Errol Spence a goodie bag of marijuana stuff. But what I don't get, marijuana is the cheapest drug ever. Doesn't Errol Spence have enough money to buy his own? Why does he need to get free marijuana from people? And that's not it. Even if Tyson gave the marijuana back to Errol Spence, well, we all know he did. Mike Tyson did not force Errol Spence to eat that edible. He did not put a gun to his head and say, eat the edible. So it's only Errol Spence's fault that he actually lost that weight. It was an embarrassing loss. Because look at Terence Crawford. Yes, he beat the living ish out of Errol Spence, but as soon as he went to 154 to fight Madrimov, he did not look invincible anymore. And Madrimov was only 10-0 and had never ever beaten a champion. To tell you the truth, I expected the same performance as Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. But it was a close and competitive fight, and some of the fans actually have Madrimov winning. I had Terence Crawford winning, but just by a little bit. It would be a little different if Terence Crawford went in there at 154 and he really destroyed Madrimov, but he went tooth and nail in that fight. So to me, he did not get acclimated at 154, and he wants to skip 160 and go to 168? And that's not even it. Canelo Alvarez already fought at 175 and he beat Kovalev, and Canelo also wanted to go to cruiserweight to fight Makbuk Air. So Canelo Alvarez is not the biggest super middleweight, but he can hang with the bigger guys. And I kind of think it's funny that the Bud Buddies say that Crawford can actually knock out Canelo. Crawford could not even knock out Madrimov at 154. What makes you think he's gonna knock out Canelo at 168? And not just that, do you guys remember when Charlo fought Canelo and he lost very badly? He was just running around the ring. Well, Charlo was fighting at 154 and he was the undisputed champion. He had all 4 belts and he could not even dent Canelo, and he was the reigning champion at 154, and Crawford just barely moved to 154. And Charlo at 154 was the knockout knockout artist. And Charlo said that Canelo was just walking out through his hardest punches. Now, I see every single way that Canelo can win, but I only see one way that Terence Crawford can win. It's gonna be a very boring fight, a very slow-paced fight, and Crawford is just gonna keep running around the ring and pick his shots. I believe Crawford is gonna fight similar to William Skull, and I hope he does, because if he doesn't, I see that's the only way that Crawford can win. Oh, and another thing, Crawford cannot make any mistakes, and Canelo can make all those mistakes that he wants. I actually have Canelo stopping Crawford. I don't know what round, but I believe he's gonna stop him. Especially if you hit Crawford, he's gonna want to crack you back, but I believe that's when he's gonna get counterpunched by Canelo. But who do you guys have winning, Canelo or Crawford? Comment below, and how is he gonna win? That's all, folks, and remember this, I ain't the biggest, I'm the baddest, and if you want to hop on your boy, throw a dollar at the super thanks. I gotta roll. Peace.